Namaste, Rooted Studio Yogis. It is good to see you all again in cyberspace. I hope that you're all doing well. Today we'll be working on scapular stability and mobility. So this is something that the scapula, or the otherwise known as the shoulder blades in the back, muscle systems that work with them help you to stay in an upright position more ease, with a greater ease, without having to sort of always thinking about straightening up. Sort of helps to keep the body more upright. It also helps with lifting things and pressing if you're doing any kind of arm balance in yoga. It can also be very good in terms of your overall movement, your balance between the front and back of the body, because a lot of times in our culture we spend a lot of time hunched over, typing or looking at our phones, and the muscles here, the pectoralis minor, tend to get strong, and they tend to be doing all the work, while the serratus anterior, these muscles back here that connect to the shoulder blades, tend to get weaker and encourage that sort of forward hunching posture. And there's been a certain amount of research that suggests that posture has an effect on your mood and your overall feelings. So being able to have that sort of upright and open posture you might even find that it has some positive emotional ramifications for you. So without any further ado, I'll invite you to take your place on the mat. Go ahead and lay back into constructive rest position. That's laying on your back, your feet flat on the ground, knees bent. And I encourage you to spread your arms out to your sides a little bit, taking that power pose, feeling each of your shoulder blades flatten out to the ground as you reach your arms out to the sides a little bit. So your arms aren't going to be exactly completely out to your sides like an airplane, but just kind of at about a 45-degree angle, just so you can feel your shoulder blades rest flat on the ground. And just noticing that grounding that happens through the shoulder blades. Really going to draw our attention to those today and be aware of the muscle systems that are around them and how they affect the body and mind. And grounding through the back, feeling the back of your body relax to the ground. Let your spine sink downward. A little bit of a curve in your lower back. So there's less pressure there. Maybe even your lower back is off the ground a little bit. And then feeling the back of your pelvis, the solid support of the pelvic bone, and each of your feet, the soles of your feet on the ground. Feeling support against the back of your head. If your eyes are open, just having them gently open. They're closed. Sometimes helps to feel the body a bit more, or whatever makes you feel comfortable. Relaxing the roof of your mouth, allowing it to broaden and soften. And with each of your breaths, allowing your belly to sink with your out breath, so that the center of your body sinks towards the center of the earth. Committing fully to your exhale. I'm just going to spend a few more moments here before I ring the bell. Taking a deeper in-breath and a longer out-breath. And you can remain in constructive rest position for the next thing we'll do. Eyes can open if they're closed. And we'll begin by going ahead and placing our hands or fists, making our hands into fists and placing the bottoms of the fists against the thigh. Like this. And then extending your thumbs so like you're doing a thumbs up. And then we really want to make sure for this movement that we're getting our whole back flattened against the ground. So we're going to start by rolling down the shoulder blades. The shoulder blades are nice and connected to the ground, pressing the whole back against the ground, even the small of the back, the lower back, pressing down into the ground. And we're going to keep the back pressed into the ground for this entire movement. It's going to be a little bit tough, but seeing if you can really keep your mind there, keep your back flattened down. And then with your in-breath, keeping your back against the ground, lifting your arms up so that you can touch your thumbs overhead, your back against the ground, and then with the out-breath, bring your fists back down to your thighs. Really making sure to roll those shoulder blades down, keeping the back against the ground. The in-breath, thumbs come up overhead, touching the ground. The out-breath, fists come back to your thighs. Doing this at your own pace with your own breath. And if you find that this is comfortable for you, you may increase the challenge a little bit by making fists instead of the thumbs up, so that the tops of your fists come back and touch the tops of your thighs. Now as you reach overhead, tops of your fists, thumbs and the pointer finger touch the ground overhead. Still making sure that you're touching the whole back, the whole body against the ground so the ribs don't lift up, so that you make this all a movement in the shoulders and not the torso. You can feel your core activating probably, and maybe eventually you'll begin to feel your serratus anterior, the set of muscles that are connected to your shoulder blades that help to keep them balanced and strong. If this is working out for you well and you want a greater challenge, maybe you flatten out your hands so that the palms of your hands touch the tops of your thighs, and then as you reach up overhead, you touch the ground with the backs of your hands. Again, keeping your whole body connected to the ground throughout this movement. It may be difficult, it may even be impossible, and if you realize that a movement along this progression is impossible, just go back to the previous step in the progression. Now, if you realize that touching the backs of your hands to the ground is working out for you, you can try the next challenge, which is once you are able to do that, you're actually going to start with the backs of your hands on the ground, the whole body on the ground, whole back of the body on the ground, and then drawing down your elbows to your sides, pressing your arms against the ground as you press the back of the body against the ground, and then reaching the arms back overhead, much like you're making the snow angel with half your body. Really make sure that you keep your arms and your whole back pressed against the ground as you make this movement. It should really feel like you're working out. If it doesn't, it may mean that you're not quite pressing down the body. Or it might mean that you have incredibly balanced shoulder muscles. For me, this is a bit of a challenge. If you want a greater challenge still, you do these movements up against the wall when you're standing. For now, we're just going to work from the ground. So you can make this your last one. And go ahead and return to constructive rest position. Arms at your sides. You can really probably feel that workout in your shoulders. And then to work the other direction, do a little bit of dead bug. So raising your arms up so you're in, and legs up so you're in upside down crawl position. Knees are above your hips, elbows are above your shoulders. Forearms and your shins are parallel with the ground. With your in-breath, right arm extends up and left leg extends up. With your out-breath, returning back to your original position. Your in-breath, left arm and right leg extend up. Your out-breath, you return to the original position. So you can do this with your own breath, breathing in as you extend your arm and leg up, breathing out as you come back to a neutral position. One thing I've noticed that a lot of people tend to do is they tend to draw their knees up higher towards their chest when they're doing this. To see if you can move your knees away so that you can really feel that tug the muscles in the abdominal region turning on. So if your knees are farther away from your chest, more towards the bottom of your mat, like this, you're going to feel that more in your core. Throughout this movement, again, try to keep the lower back flattened down to the mat. Breathing in as you extend your arms up, breathing out as you come back to your original position. So you can make this your last set, ending with your left arm going up and right leg going up before you return to your original position, then come back down to constructive rest position. And then drawing both knees up towards your chest, go ahead and roll over to your right side. And from here, using your arms to push yourself up to a seated position. And then go ahead and come up to standing position. All right, so from a standing position, I'm going to do a little bit of working with the legs. So start in sumo with your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Keeping your back in neutral spine, so it's no additional curves in the back. It's kind of the natural curves of the spine, much like when you're in constructive rest position with the ground, and force those natural curves. And bending at the hips, knees, and ankles, so that your torso goes forward, hips go back. This is a really nice way of opening up the hip joints, warming them up for practice. I haven't done this in a while, so it feels really good. See if you can keep your neck long, the back of your neck long as you do this. There's a tendency for people to kind of look upwards like this, so they're looking at the horizon. Seeing if you can keep your chin tucked in as you tip your body forward, your eyes looking down at the ground to lengthen the back of your neck. With this movement, your out breath can happen as you come down, breathing out as you come down, breathing in as you come back up. If you're not doing that, don't worry, it's not like it's a problem, but it's just a good way to coordinate the breath. So you can make this your final movement. And then go ahead and walk your feet back together, and then come up to the top of your mat. So from here, I'm going to just play around with a little bit of this mobility through the shoulders, moving the arms forward and backwards like so. Just kind of swinging them through their regular movement, just to warm up a little bit. Just letting them come to a stop. All right. So noticing that the arms have two major planes of movement. The arms can go back like so, and they can go forward and up. To keep the shoulder blade in their optimal position, you want to kind of rotate from the shoulder so that the thumbs, as you reach back behind your body, the thumbs point back behind you, the pinkies point forward. But you want to do it so that your thumbs rotate inward rather than outward as you go back. Not that there's a problem with rotating them outward. Just for this particular movement, you want to sort of rotate them in. And as you raise your arms up, thumbs point behind you. Pinkies rotate in. But just feeling this is what I often call sun arms position. To add to this, see if as you have your arms overhead, pinkies rotating in, you can let your shoulders relax on your back. Actually, in a way, you're kind of letting your shoulder blades sink down your back. And maybe you can feel those serratus muscles turning on right now. So that's what we want. Anytime that we're doing this upward position, just feeling how the shoulder muscles, especially the serratus anterior, activate. You'll get that if you rotate the pinkies inward and let the shoulders come down. It's almost like you're holding a big ball. That's what Tina likes to say. It's like we're holding a big ball overhead, big beach ball. All right, so from this position, with your out breath, tipping forward to touch down, letting your head hang, releasing all those muscles. Ah, that feels great. Whew, yeah. And just kind of moving, nodding your head. Yes, slowly, bringing chin to chest, getting the cervical spine moving. Nice and slow. Some organic movements here. And then letting your head hang, and turning side to side with your neck, chin to each shoulder, like you're slowly shaking your head no. And then letting your head hang. And then looking back between your legs, left leg steps deep back, left knee either comes down to touch the ground or it hovers, whichever you prefer. Maybe you do active legs here, drawing your front foot back, back foot forward, like a scissors motion. Now with your out breath, stepping back into downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, using those serratus muscles to push yourself back. Push your hips up and back away from your hands, bending your knees liberally, generously, to extend your spine, letting your head hang. And then coming forward to plank or half plank. Spreading the mat apart with your hands, really dragging your hands to the sides to activate those shoulder muscles. And then bringing yourself down as one unit, like you really are plank. So the hips and the torso touch the ground at basically the same time. Looking down at the ground, pressing down through the tops of your feet, through your pubic bone, bending between your shoulder blades to come up into little cobra. And then pushing up and back to downward facing dog, extending through those serratus anterior muscles, extending, reaching forward with the scapula. And looking between your hands, left leg steps forward, and then right knee either hovers or comes down, looking up. And with your out breath, stepping forward to forward fold, letting your head hang. And then pressing your palms into your shins to extend your spine, half lift, and with your out breath, forward fold. With your in breath, coming all the way up. Arms reach overhead, again rotating the pinkies inward, thumbs out. So you're rotating from the shoulders, and your shoulders down and back. And with your out breath, palms come back together in front of the chest. All right, so this time we're going to think about this in downward facing dog. As you breathe out, hands go down and back, thumbs point behind you. As you breathe in, arms come forward and up, thumbs point behind you again, pinkies rotate in, shoulders go down the back, activating the core. And as you breathe out, releasing, letting those muscles release, looking back between your legs. The right leg steps deep back, right knee either hovers or comes down, looking up, and then left leg steps back into downward facing dog. So think about those sun arms that you're doing. See if you can rotate so that your shoulders are broad in the back, just like when you had your arms upward. Now your pinkies can't obviously go towards each other in this position, but see if you can get that same rotation from the shoulders to broaden through the upper back, pushing the hips away from the hands, and coming forward to plank or half plank, keeping the back broad, your out breath coming back down, pressing down to the mat with the back tops of your feet, down to the pubic bone, bending between your shoulder blades to come up into a little cobra, and pushing up and back to downward facing dog. And then looking between your hands, right leg steps forward to low lunge, back knee either hovers or comes down, looking up, and with your out breath stepping forward into forward fold, letting your head hang. And with your next in breath, pressing palms into your shins to extend your spine. With your out breath, forward fold, letting your head hang. With your in breath coming all the way up, arms reach overhead, sun arms, shoulders go down the back, breathe out, palms come back together. All right, so a couple more times, once more with the other side. As you breathe out, hands come down and back. As you breathe in, arms come forward and up. Rotating the thumbs back, shoulder blades go down and back. And see if you can have a little micro bend between your shoulder blades, like you're doing a little cobra to lift up your chest. As you breathe out, tipping forward from the waist, letting your head hang. Left leg steps deep back, left knee hovers, looking up. And then with your out breath, right foot steps back into downward facing dog, broadening your shoulders, sending your hips up and back. And with your in breath coming forward to plank, with your out breath, lowering the body down all at once, slowly to the mat. Pressing down to the tops of your feet, down through the pubic bone, bending between your shoulder blades, come up into little cobra, and pushing up and back to downward facing dog. And looking between your hands, left foot steps forward, and the right knee hovers or comes down, looking up. And with your out breath, stepping forward into forward fold, letting your head hang. With your in breath, pressing palms into shins, looking up. With your out breath, forward fold, releasing. And with your in breath, coming all the way up, arms reach overhead. And with your out breath, palms come back together in front of the chest. Anjali Mudra, Tadasana, mountain pose. As you breathe out, hands go down and back. As you breathe in, arms come forward and up. And shoulders go down the back as you breathe out, tipping forward, touch down, releasing. Right leg steps deep back, right knee either hovers or comes down, looking up. And with your out breath, front foot steps back, downward facing dog. Really pressing the hips away from the hands, rolling the shoulders open, coming forward to plank or half plank, and lowering yourself down all at once. Pressing down to the tops of your feet, down to the pubic bone, bending between your shoulder blades to come up into a little cobra, and pushing up, back, downward facing dog, pushing your hips away from your hands. Generous bend to the knees, looking between the hands, right foot steps forward into low lunge, looking up, and with an out breath, stepping forward into forward fold, letting the head hang. An in-breath, pressing palms into the shins, looking up. With your out-breath, forward fold. And one final time, we're going to press hands into the shins, peeking up a second time, and bending the knees, coming into chair position. Palms can start at the chest, or if you want a greater challenge, sun arms, reaching arms overhead. And with the out-breath, coming up into Tadasana, palms together. Okay, great. So one of the things to think about with that sun arms position when you're in downward facing dog is the orientation of the shoulders. And for this, I'm just going to do a little bit of a demonstration of how that can look. The wrong way to do it is to have the shoulders like this, so there's sort of this constriction in the upper back. The right way is to make the back nice and broad like this. And to make the back broad, you have to have your arms rotated like so. So this is good, not so good. Good, not so good. So when you're in that position upside down, there's a couple ways of getting into it. One of the ways of getting into it is to start in tabletop position. That's knees underneath your hips and wrists underneath your shoulders. Kind of pushing out your elbows to the side and then rolling them back so the elbows point behind you, and then pushing up and back with the elbows in that position. That's another way of thinking about rolling open wide the upper back. So that's something to think about when you're in that downward dog position. So let's just give that a shot. Let's start with our tabletop position. Step your hands forward about one hand length, and then press up and back. And see if you can roll the shoulder blades open, broaden the upper back. And come back down to your knees, stepping your hands back at the tabletop. And maybe that didn't work out so well. Maybe you want to try it the other way. Start by bending your elbows out to the sides and then rolling them back towards your knees. Then pushing up and back. Maybe you step back a little bit. Downward dog. And then just feeling the serratus muscle pushing your hips away from your hands. So you can kind of push through your hands to send your hips away from your hands, up and away. And then coming back forward to plank or half plank. And then lowering your knees down to half plank if they're not there already. And coming back forward to tabletop. So coming back to a seated position. So that's one of the ways that we can think about scapular mobility, scapular stability, is you can feel that those muscles in the back have to really keep your arms forward. Now, of course, your arm is probably feeling it other ways as well, but that's one thing to think about is that strength that supports you through downward dog. So whenever you're working with downward dog, you're helping to make those muscles stronger and make the balance between front and back a little better. One thing that happens to happen when you rotate your arms like that is you also can broaden your collarbone that way. So another way of getting that is from tabletop, to broaden the collarbone, is just feel your wrists underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips, and pressing your hands firmly into the mat. You want to press down with all of your fingers and the root of your index finger all at once. And then once you've got that, seeing if you can drag your hands to the sides. They're not going to move because there's going to be resistance in the mat, but just feeling that expansion. Seeing if you can broaden your collarbone, almost like you could spread your shoulders farther apart by ripping the mat apart down the middle. So like you're spreading the mat to the sides. You're going to feel that muscular activation through your shoulders, through your shoulder blades, the whole shoulder girdle. Make sure that your belly isn't sinking down, keeping your navel in towards the back of your spine. Great. Yeah, now this is challenging. So if you want a greater challenge, come back into half plank. And then lowering yourself down to the ground. See if you can keep that drawing apart with the hands. Then come down to the chest, let the feet come down. And just feeling it all the way through the arms. And now we're in prone mountain, pointing your nose right down to the ground. See if you can roll out your chest so that your sternum, your breastbone kind of touches down to the mat, almost all the way up to the collarbone maybe. And then pointing your nose directly down the mat, hovering your nose just off the mat. Another way of figuring out where our shoulders should be in space is in this position, shrugging your shoulders up towards your ears, and then shrugging them down towards your hips. Keep on going back and forth up towards your ears, then down towards your hips. And find the sweet spot between those two extremes where it feels like your shoulders fall into a groove. That's where you want your shoulder blades to be. So just kind of take a mental note, feel that in your body. And then gently pressing down through your hands. Drag your hands back a little bit towards your hips. They're not going to move again, they're just going to feel that muscular activation. Pressing down to the tops of your feet, pressing down through your pubic bone, pointing your nose directly down to the earth, kind of tucking your chin a little bit. Feeling that muscular activation all the way through the back. This is really enforcing some strength in the back, making the back stronger, more active, more awake. And then when you're ready with an in-breath, bending between your shoulder blades, come up into little cobra. Feeling a thoracic extension all the way through your back. And then with your out-breath, pushing up and back into child pose. Letting those muscles relax. Ah, that's great, yeah. Walk your hands forward a little bit maybe to stretch through the arms. Taking a breather. Work our shoulders really well. And just holding this position. Feeling the activation through the arms. And then when you're ready, go ahead and return to your back. Go ahead and draw both your knees up towards your chest. Do a little side-to-side movement, massaging the back. And if at this point you have a strap or something, maybe you want to go through a sequence of stretches with the strap. Here I might be grabbing the strap with both hands, arms extended, leg is extended, a little micro-bended knee, and holding that. And then grabbing both straps with my left hand. I'm going to move my left leg off to my left side a little bit. And then bringing the left leg back overhead, switching hands, moving my left leg over to my right side a little bit to get the outside of my leg. And then bending the right knee to set the left knee, or set the left ankle rather over the right knee. So this position should get your IT band. If you don't feel much of a stretch here, start by kind of moving your left knee away from your body. You might feel a little bit more there. If you still need more, you might reach through and grab your right thigh and draw it up towards your chest while pushing, not necessarily with your hands, but kind of pushing your left knee that direction with your leg. Sometimes I prop my left shoulder against my left knee, kind of push it out a little bit. And then you can go ahead and let your legs come back down.